Welcome back, everyone, to the programme. But first, to some of your stories in brief. The Inspector General of Police is asking everyone to voluntarily adhere to the directives on the spread of Covid-19. Aside from asking for compliance, Mr. Adamo has also asked all Zonal Assistant Inspectors General of Police and Commissioners of Police nationwide to ensure that all legitimate orders are strictly enforced within their areas of jurisdiction. Elsewhere, the Kwara State government has also ordered the closure of all public and private nursery, primary, secondary schools and state-owned tertiary institutions. Aside the Ministry of Health officials and essential workers, all civil servants are to work from home. It's also banned gatherings of more than 25 people. Bauchi State Governor has ordered the closure of all schools in the state effective today, in addition to restriction on religious gatherings to not more than 50 people to curb the spread of Covid-19. The governor was speaking shortly after a high-powered meeting with key players, including traditional and religious leaders and also security agencies. And the Taraba State government rescinded its decision on worship centres not to accommodate more than 20 persons, with stringent measures to be followed. It formed part of resolutions reached at the meeting by the state government to seek the views of religious leaders regarding the governor's pronouncements on ways to avoid the spread of coronavirus. The Nigerian Governors Forum says they are preparing for the eventuality which may arise in the spread of Covid-19. The chairman of the forum and governor of Ekiti State, Dr. Kaide Fahimi, told Channels Television that they have already made moves to cushion the effect of the impact.
As the elected governors, to really focus on what we can do to ameliorate the conditions of the citizens of Nigeria. The committee that we set up would come up with measurable recommendations that can help us with improving the economic situation. Clearly, there is a challenge. We cannot pretend that things would be normal. We have to estimate that given current circumstances, we may even find ourselves in a situation where the price of oil goes right down to $20 a barrel. And that clearly will call for a review of state budgets as well as the federal budget. And it would call for a reprioritization of our own economic vehicles. The central bank has already taken some steps which are, in my view, appropriate, but we still need to do more in order to create the fiscal stimulus that will be necessary to cushion the effect of these difficult times.
It's a pandemic and the world is talking about it. Let's get a sense of its implication and some of the policies and economic impact of the disease in Nigeria. Joining us via Skype is Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. He's an economist, fiscal policy partner, West Africa tax leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers. We'd like to thank you for joining us at this time. Tell us, what is this pandemic doing to world economies and how are we here affected by it, especially with the number of cases that we have so far?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is something that nobody had prepared for, not even the US, not China, and of course, definitely not Nigeria. Apart from the human factor and the impact on public health, there's also a bigger impact actually in terms of the economy. And as we are beginning to see, countries around the world are making adjustments, and Nigeria also is not left out. Apart from the adjustment to the budget, we're having issues to do with fiscal stimulus being expected, in addition to the interventions by the CBN from the monetary side. So this is going to be, we hear some estimation in terms of scenario planning by countries like the US, thinking that maybe worst case scenario, this might drag for 18 months, whereas at the optimistic side, we're thinking that this might go away before September. So, but whatever your estimates are, this is something that even when the virus finally leaves us, the impact will continue for months, if not years to come.
But what's your take on perhaps some of the buffers we've had the federal government put in place? Take, for example, the Central Bank of Nigeria stimulus package, the 1.1 trillion naira intervention fund, cutting interest rates 5%, and several other measures that have been done so far.
Yes, indeed. Those measures are, in my view, overall good because doing nothing will not solve our problems. Trying to have a convergence in terms of the exchange rates is a move in the right direction. Some of us feel like this should have been done like many years ago, but they say never late, better late than never. And also trying to have a lower interest rate, even though this doesn't cut across, is for some intervention loans by the CBN. But still, that is still the right thing to do, at least the first step in the right direction. Encouraging banks to restructure loans, giving extended moratorium, all of those are good. What I would like to see more is a more coordinated approach between monetary, fiscal authorities, and the other strategies of government to try and address this very significant issue that we're just getting into it now. As the number of cases will rise, before it start falling down, it means that the things will get worse before it start getting better. I do hear from your clip that PDP was complaining about devaluation of naira, and I was hoping that they would come up with a credible alternative as to what government should do at this time, rather than just criticize.
I'd like to get your view on the commercial capital, and that is Lagos, the biggest hit so far with the spread of COVID-19. What capacities do you think other states should employ? We're hearing Edo State, its first case today. So what can states employ to protect its citizens with regards to what some of the disease might have on the state's economy?
Yeah, I think first thing is that every single person in authority who has the ability to do something has to first accept that we have a problem on our hands. We saw over the weekend that some states did not realize the importance of these issues, and they still allow gatherings without limitations and all of that. First and foremost, we need to align in terms of our approach. And then both the subnational and the federal government, they need to work together. As we begin to identify more cases in different places, we need to deploy all our resources. We shouldn't leave it to a state. I'll say Lagos State has some capacity to deal with issues on their own. But beyond that, I think the rest of the country, we have to have a joined-up approach in trying to address this very difficult time that we find ourselves.
We'd like to appreciate your time, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, Fiscal Policy Partner, West Africa Tax Leader at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Many thanks for your analysis on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
And finally, today, the former head of civil service of the Federation, Mrs. Winifred Oyoita, has been docked on an 18-count charge leveled against her by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The EFCC is arraigning the immediate past head of civil service and 8 others at the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja. The EFCC says others to be arraigned alongside Mrs. Oyoita are Frontline Aid Global Services Limited, Asanaya Project Limited, Galba Umar and his company, Slopes International Limited, Good Deal Investments and others. They have been arraigned for fraud in relation to duty tour allowances, DTA, as to codes, conference fees fraud and receiving kickbacks on contracts. In court today, in line with the federal government directive on social distancing, Justice Taiwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja is asking all persons who are not defendants or directly involved in the suits pending before him to desist from coming to court. The judge, while addressing lawyers and litigants, says that he will henceforth entertain very serious cases as he urged persons with civil cases to bear with the court. For now, we've been told that Mrs. Oyeta pleaded not guilty to the 18-count charge. Well, that's in on Lunchtime Politics. We'd like to thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker.